Welcome back to another episode. I'm excited to be here and I'm excited to have you here. Now, you may say to yourself, hey, I want to grow and I want to grow my brand into a successful big entity. And guess what? At this stage of your business growth, you may be the actual root problem to why your business isn't growing. I have worked with hundreds of founders, and the key commonality is that we all find ourselves at a certain part of our business where we are the bottleneck to our business's growth. And it's important to recognize it early on and to detect it. And in today's episode, I'm hoping to provide you with some insight into where you might be the bottleneck, but then where and how you can untangle this so that you move out of the way and your business can thrive and flourish in the way that you want it to. And you're not the sole provider to all the problems and issues inside of your company. So stick in here because we've got a great episode for you today.
Business. Driving. Driving. Driving the business.
Anthony Standifer here, and you are driving the business. So let me know if this story resonates with you as we talk about this idea of being a bottleneck inside of your business. I worked with a brand founder a few years back, and we did a bunch of things together. Amazing brand, incredible founder who ran a pretty small, lean and mean team. She was having problems finding somebody that could truly effectively lead the marketing and the branding portion of her business. And so I was coming in to help with like a real small proportion of that. In the course of the conversation, she mentioned to me like how over the last like 3 to 4 years, she had hired 6 different marketing professionals that were supposedly like the best in the business to help support her, and none of them worked. And each one of them had a specific set of issues or problems that made them ineffective and not a viable match for her beauty brand or to help with her and her team in scaling and adding structure. And so as we talked and I went through like, well, who were the people and what were they doing and what were their backgrounds, I quickly realized that like, in fact, these are competent professionals and people who have experience in various backgrounds. But the common thread in all of these scenarios was her as the business founder. And so recognizing that, I was like, ooh, she's the common thread here. And I am now interviewing for number 7 on this posting of marketing professionals that she's worked with. And so I ended up taking the job and the project. We did a fantastic job, but I soon realized that this was a person who had very specific, very, very specific ideas of what success looked like that were not explicitly stated, that were not written out, but that were enforced heavily upon me as a professional that was offering consulting services to the business. And so my great founder friend was in fact the bottleneck in this whole scenario and the common thread that needed to be untangled. So even I, as a business founder, I'm not immune to this. So I'm not speaking from this, higher than thou perspective. Inside of my own journey of MC Group, I have quickly realized that there's many instances where I am over managing a situation because of my own doubts and fears. And so it's one of the reasons that I have surrounded myself with other entrepreneurs to see firsthand how do other people manage their businesses and how do they get inside of teams and ensure that they're getting the results that they're looking for. And it's been one of the great novelties having been a member of, for me, Entrepreneur Organization or EO, where I am surrounded by a multitude of other business owners at various levels. I've got a friend inside of this group who probably spends 30% of his time managing his business, if that. And he has a quickly growing, fast scaling business. And I oftentimes would ask him, like, dude, how are you able to do all of this stuff outside of your business and still keep your business growing? And he unraveled and brought me behind the curtain to say, like, I've repositioned who I am and what my true function inside of the business at a very early stage so that my business didn't become my cage. And it's something that I want to share today with you that I've seen amongst many other founders who have figured this thing out either through intelligence or just default of what they're naturally good or not good at. And it's a pretty simple process. So let's unroll it and unpack it some. Oh, and one other quick note. Note that this is not about blame. This is not a blame game episode where I'm going to tell you like how ineffective or how bad you are. This is about awareness and self-improvement. And part of the journey of entrepreneurship is recognizing where you thrive and then recognizing in the areas where you don't thrive that you have the ability to build a plan to ensure that you get out of the way of the business and you can focus on the things that make you really, really happy and that you're really great at. So there's some really easy ways to identify, and I'm going to give you 3 points that if you can identify with this, probably identifies you as the bottleneck. Point number one, everything requires your approval. If the people inside of your organization, whether they're contractors, part-time, full-time employees, if they are coming to you with all the questions, all the problems, all the mistakes, and all the things, and this has been happening over a series of months, if not years, then my friend, you have created yourself as a bottleneck. Point number two, you confuse control with quality. And so if your belief system is that only you can do it right or only you can do it good enough for it to be released, then that is inherently setting you up for failure, my friend. And so, again, everyone is not going to do things the way that you would want them to do, but can it get executed at a level that says this can go to market, this can get in front of customers, this can go to the next level to keep things moving? If you're the person that controls every single decision on what quality looks like and everyone falls significantly below that, then you're the bottleneck, my friend. Point number three, you're always putting out fires and in reaction mode. If you feel like, hey, inside of my business every single day, I or you are a slave to email, a slave to the phone ringing and somebody having a complaint, not able to focus on the work that you truly want to focus on because you're constantly responding to the things that are coming and incoming and the issues and the problems, then you've likely identified that you are the bottleneck, because if you are the only person that can see and solve a problem inside the organization, it's a fundamental problem. A quick exercise. Write down the last 3 times where you had to say to yourself, just forget about it. I will do this myself. Somebody else started it and you said, nope, I'm going to do this myself because it's got to get done and it's got to get done right. And so if you write those 3 things down, more than likely those are the 3 key areas that you can start with in thinking about how do you make yourself not the bottleneck in these instances. So in this section, we're going to talk about the 3 Ds that are going to help you to unbottleneck yourself or remove yourself from these situations where you find yourself as the sole source of being able to move something forward. And it's pretty simple. It's delegate, document, and decide. These 3 Ds we'll talk about more specifically in terms of how they can help unlock you from the bottleneck that you find yourself in. All right, so the first D is delegate. Like, how can you find someone that you can hire or train to do the tasks that you just are not amazing at or that just don't make you feel good? Now, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to get rid of all of it. There are some things that I do as a business owner that I don't necessarily love or enjoy, but that are just at that moment critical for me to do. But there's other things, many other things that I truly have the ability to delegate or hire for. And hiring can happen in any number of ways, because the big thing that I get, particularly from early stage small businesses and entrepreneurs, is, Anthony, I would love to delegate that. I just can't afford it. And so that's a whole nother discussion. But there are some things inside of your business that with some thought and some ingenuity, you can absolutely delegate, whether that means getting virtual assistants, whether that means getting a contractor, a part-time person, any number of scenarios. But you've got to be really clear that there are some tasks that are happening on the day-to-day basis that you can delegate, and that becomes the number one priority. Here's the second part. So most times we get over the delegate portion. It is then document. Document the process or the systems by which the work needs to be done. And this is pretty simple. If you're the person that's doing something now and you're setting up email campaigns, and you're the person who writes all the copy, sets all the systems up, and then actually executes on those things, document that process. And that is as simple as putting a written document together that someone else could follow, or creating a video loom or video situation where you just literally walk people through how you do this and measure effective operations and efficiency inside of that system or process. If people can see it, then they can actually replicate it. So write it down, record a video so that you can then hand that information off to the person that you've delegated, and they don't have to wonder how you're going to get the results that you typically get and that you're expecting them to deliver in their position. So document is key. If there is no document because you don't know how to do it or you don't feel confident in the way that you do execute it, then hire the person and require of them that they document the process. So they've either got to provide you with a written document or video loom or video presentation of how they actually get the work done so that they can know and you can know how these things are happening, and it helps to unlock the veil and in many instances really bring clarity and alignment around what is the end goal and expectation and how you expect people to get there. Number three is decide. And so at this point, you are giving your team members the power to decide and do all the things. And give people guardrails. I mean, certainly, I don't want anybody inside of my company making $5 million decisions without consulting with me first. So I'm not suggesting, hand the keys to the kingdom over to the temp that you just hired last week. But what I am suggesting is that you can give people the latitude to make decisions at a certain level. So for instance, if it's $500 or less, let people make that decision if your business can handle losing on a $500 decision. Now, you might be annoyed by losing $500 that's spent ineffectively, but it's not going to tank the business, and you can use it as a teachable moment should a decision be made that you say like, hey, I might have looked at that differently, and it gives you an opportunity to then coach up the person who is making these decisions. But in many instances, you may find like, oh, okay, this person made a decision and it was a $300 decision, maybe not the way that I would have handled the problem, but they got to the end result in their own way and at their own learning and their own process. And it is in the transfer of allowing people to make decisions and to solve problems with their own bandwidth that you then start to unlock the power that releases you from having to make all the decisions. And if somebody's got to come to you and say, this thing didn't go exactly right for every single thing, then like that's just not effective. And I actually push back on team members at a certain point that are looking for decisions on small things. I say, well, how do you want to handle it? I'd prefer that you give me one or two options to how you think we could handle this situation in this instance, and allow them to sort of see that you're like, okay, I trust you to make these decisions. I want to see how you're thinking through problem solving. In many instances, over time, that compounded effect unlocks the thing that you're going to need in order to remove yourself from the business and give you the kind of comfort that allows you to trust the person that's actually driving that part of the business. So delegate, document, and decide. You can do this, my friend. 10% of your business or 10% of the tasks that are happening inside of the business that you are doing right now, you could put this in effect for. I do it now, and I started months or years ago at this point with small things. The calendar. I do not manage my own calendar. It is not that I can't, but I have a virtual assistant who can absolutely manage my calendar on my behalf. Email. 80% of my emails are managed by my assistant. And so he sees them, he divides and delegates them, things that he can respond to on his own because he understands enough context now of how I might answer it or want it answered. And then he segments the things that he's like, I don't know what to say here. And so, Anthony, you've got to look at this. But email and calendaring has absolutely opened up my world because it's not the primary focus. And email particularly is that thing that puts many of us on the instant reactive defense mode because it is just coming at us from all different sides, and then we're forced to respond to it. And then you look up and you're like, good Lord, I haven't done any of my work because I've been fighting inside of emails to respond to other people's requests, other people's demands of my time. And so I'm making progress in this area. I want to get to like 99%, but at this point, most of my scheduling, almost all of my scheduling, and the majority of my emails are things that are managed by someone else. And so this whole concept, friend, is really a mindset shift. This is not just about the tactics of like somebody go answer my email, somebody go book me a flight, or somebody go respond to this. It is trusting someone else. And trust is a hard thing for most of us to do and many people to lean into, but it's necessary because at the end of the day, you cannot scale doing it all yourself. And this idea that you think, oh my gosh, well, I've just got to go hire like this $300,000 professional in order to get it done right is a fallacy as well. You don't have to overpay people or find the black belt in every situation and pay them prime rate. And at the same time, you don't have to take somebody just randomly off the street and, watch them stumble and fail through the process and offer no value. There is a middle ground, but it requires you to think differently about this. As a leader, your job is to empower and to educate. Like, how can you take someone and mold them into the thing or the type of person that you need them to be for your organization and for the specific task that you've outlined for them? Coaching is a hard thing. I don't downplay it, but it is harder for me to be stressed out and working 18-hour days than for me to take the time, the 7 or 8 hours that it's going to take for me to coach and to delegate and to help someone else work through their issues and to give them the motivational topic to say or speech that says, you can do this. Here's where you did great. And here's a great opportunity for you to do more of. Here's an opportunity where I'd like to see you do differently. Taking that time is time. And it does require this interaction with people that most of us are not trained to do, but it pays off. Good Lord, like 80% done by someone else is 100% better than me doing it in most instances. But it requires that I am releasing the expectation that I'm the one that has to do it. Nobody's going to meet the quality levels that I want. And that it really isn't something that I can afford to do. There is a way for these things to happen, but it's my job as an owner and a leader to position myself and my team in a space where it can happen. And let's recognize that it's okay to have high standards. In having high standards, can you guide someone up to your standard level? And it can't be that, 100 people that none of them can go. Because if you were the true GOAT of all time in your functional area, you'd be operating at a whole different level. And so we got to get real about that. Yes, you have high standards, but yes, you've got to now train people to come some level close to the standards that you've set. And that lies with you, my friend, not the 10 people or the 12 people that are not good enough to make the standard that you've set. How can you take someone that's good and make them great? How can you take someone that's okay and make them good? And then how can you identify someone who just quite honestly is not going to get it? Because in many instances, you do find yourself with someone, a team player, that just doesn't have the capacity to grow to the level that you need. Can you shift them to something else where they may be able to thrive? Or is it time to just say goodbye to that person and move them out of the organization so that you can then bring in new people? But it is so worth it. Like that kind of effort and intentionality of people and assessing of their strengths and your own strengths and weaknesses is how you start to thrive. And you release yourself from, again, being this bottleneck where all things have to come through you in order for them to happen. So at the end of this, like growth cost, like there's no way that you're going to have this amazing big business of 5 million, 10 million, $20 million and not pay something. And the payment is not just in money, it is in time, it is in the stretching of yourself, it is in the changing and adaptability of your own mindset in these instances and situations where you truly say to yourself, like, I recognize that I am at the source and the center of these things, and I have the ability to navigate my way through this. And that means that I've got to bring myself out of being the center of all things inside of every single part of my business. If not, you're going to get stuck. And I see it happen time and time again, particularly with people who have been like overachievers in other areas of life who are like, man, I love a good challenge. And that worked for you maybe in corporate America or in school or in some other instances. But now you're trying to scale and do a new thing. And so allow yourself to do a new thing in a new way. And that new way means that you now are working in a team effort and you're working with people to ensure that they can collectively push your ship up and move things forward and get your vision into reality, not exactly the way that you want it, but close and directionally in that path. And if your business starts to grow and you start to bring in more revenue or convert more clients and customers and sell more products, and that's happening because this core group of 6 people is working with you in order to make that thing happen, then you've got the foundation, friend, for something amazing. And more importantly, you then have a skill set that will allow you to truly thrive. And so as you then go from 6 people, the idea of then doing 16 people will be a little bit more nuanced, but still doable. And then how do you then start to train the other leaders that are going to lead people? That becomes a whole nother process in this entrepreneurial journey and in this growth mindset of being a leader inside of a big company. But the starting point is you, and just recognizing that you and you alone cannot be the person that is making the majority of the decisions and the actions inside of the organization. So I hope that this was of value. And if it was a mirror for you, welcome. This is one that has been put in front of me several times, and one that I am circling back to on multiple occasions where I have to say to myself, like, ugh, like I see my frustration and feel my frustration. Like, how do I then get myself out of this? And how do I come out of my own fear and insecurity for a thing and really allow myself to trust in other people, and not blindly trust, but to trust in them enough to say, like, this is what I believe the goal should be. How we get there is going to be a collaboration, and let's take this journey together. And I, as a leader, will give you collaborative feedback that allows you to go on your journey as someone who's looking to help me inside of this business. And so let's make that the mantra that we're operating against today. Not an easy thing, but unless we start it, it is not going to get done, and it becomes harder and harder the longer you're in business to make those things happen. So, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. It was intended to be really, really instructional, and so there's value and some nuggets in this that I hope you take away as you continue to move towards greatness. And as we move to this next level of business over the next couple of months, like, let's get ready, because I mean, there is a ton of great opportunity out there that I want all of you participating in, because I'm certainly striving for this next level of greatness, and I want other people like you around me on this journey as well. My name is Anthony Sandiford. This has been another episode of Driving the Business, Beauty Brands, and Entrepreneurship. Thank you so much for your listening ear and for joining me on this lovely journey in this new format for this podcast. We're in a slightly different location today and doing new things, and it's the awkward and ambitious phase of this podcast journey as I'm figuring things out even on this side in terms of how to deliver really good, effective content for you. But I thank you for your listening ear or your visual eye in taking in this content. I do have an ask. If you've enjoyed this episode, please give it a high rating on whatever platform you're on. I love that kind of feedback, and it helps the algorithm to push this content out to more people. If you have questions, it is super, super easy to reach out to me. Somewhere on the screen, there's contact information for me. You can follow me on all of the social medias. That's also somewhere on the screen someplace. So come check me out, engage with me, ask questions, because I want to see you winning on this field as well. And so come out of your head, get into action, and let's make this thing happen. I'll see you next time. Peace.